Ah, ach. Ah, giant was chasing her and had a scary smile. But she was small, so how far could she run? The distance between them got smaller and smaller, very quickly. The giant showed its teeth and laughed like it was having fun playing tag. Its arm was much longer than most giants' arms. Just before it could grab the little girl, a flash of blue lightning hit the giant's wrist and burned it a little. Dids, grah. The giant pulled back its wrist and shouted in pain. There stood Igris, holding a blue sword. He looked at the girl who was shaking badly, and her legs had given way. She was very pale. Igris picked her up and moved quickly away from where they were. The giant saw the person who had bothered it running away with its food, and its eyes turned red with anger. It growled. That sound was scary enough to make most people very frightened. But someone was brave enough to stand in front of the giant. It was Iron, a skilled knight wearing strong, new armor. He slammed his shield into the ground, stood tall, and roared loudly. The giant, who was about to attack Igris, quickly turned to face Iron. The knight hit his chest a few times, and then lifted his shield. It was very large, almost as big as he was, and he shouted a challenge. Rah! The angry giant swung at the knight, with all his might. Crash! But the knight didn't move, becoming stronger, had made him much more powerful. Boom! Boom! After blocking many attacks, the knight yelled loudly. Phew! At his signal, the shadow soldiers and ice bears, who had helped Jinwoo for a long time, began a coordinated attack from both sides. Tank, who led the ice bears, shook his head, excited for his first battle in a while, and roared. Grah! The sound echoed through the ground for a long distance. A reporter who had been watching everything very carefully, shouted excitedly at the camera. Can you believe what we're seeing? Hunter Sun's helpers are fighting the giant. Was this really happening? This reporter didn't really trust Yuri or Love, so he wasn't expecting much from Jinwoo Sung either. But both Jinwoo and his helpers were all over the country, working to defeat the giants. Maybe, just maybe, Jinwoo could actually save Japan. The reporter's voice trembled with emotion. Oh, over there. The person filming pointed toward the enormous creature. The reporter quickly looked, wiping away tears. He exclaimed. How can this be happening? The giant was wobbling as beams of light from Igris's sword hit it repeatedly. It was a beautiful sight that made everyone quiet. The Hunters Association of Japan used to have its headquarters in the middle of Tokyo, which many thought of as the heart of the country. But that changed when huge creatures started coming out of a special gate. After hunters and soldiers bravely saved his life during a dangerous event in Shinjuku, the president, Shigeo Matsumoto, decided to move the association's headquarters to Osaka. President Matsumoto knew that if Osaka and its 2,260,000 people weren't safe, Japan would be in big trouble. It was the final place they could defend, like a strong wall protecting the country. When he learned the giant creatures had reached the city of Nagoya, which was nearby, he felt very worried and hopeless. Japan was in a very difficult situation. It was also pointless to ask other countries for help, because secrets about the Hunters Association of Japan had been revealed by President Gun-hee-go of Korea. After President Go spoke to the media, the Japanese government, which had moved to Kyoto temporarily, quickly called for President Matsumoto to come. He knelt before the leaders who wanted him to take responsibility. I did something wrong, and I will accept the consequences. But please let someone try to fix this problem first. Could you wait with your decision until then? The Prime Minister stood with his back to Matsumoto, and was quiet for a long time. Finally he agreed. President Matsumoto was clearly at fault for the trouble, but as he explained, someone still needed to deal with the dangerous situation that had happened. His punishment might happen later. People could use what happened to him as a warning after the fire was out. When Jinwoo arrived in Japan, President Matsumoto rushed to greet him, looking very worried. Even though President Matsumoto knew what would happen to him, he didn't want the same thing to happen to his country. As soon as he saw Jinwoo, he felt a chill. This couldn't be happening. Jinwoo was very powerful. He had met many important people while leading the association, so he knew right away. Even though he had been around lots of skilled hunters, very few made him feel uneasy like this. This was a new experience. If he had met Jinwoo before the attack on Jeju Island, he would not have planned to turn against the Korean hunters. Reiji Goto was right about the man before him. He was very intimidating. But the creatures they were facing were huge magical beasts that had gotten loose from a dangerous portal. Jinwoo couldn't possibly defeat them by himself. He begged, "Please just protect the city of Osaka." He needed Jinwoo to hold the creatures back, so the association could ask for help from countries like the United States or Russia. But the hunter's answer ruined his plan. "I will not." Jinwoo refused the request. President Matsumoto and the others became very worried. Had Jinwoo changed his mind after traveling so far? President Matsumoto nervously asked, "So, what are you going to do now?" Instead of answering, Jinwoo split his helpers into 3 groups, and sent them in different directions before going on his own path. The large number of helpers was amazing, but President Matsumoto was worried about something else. Was Jinwoo really planning to fight huge creatures all alone? Was Jinwoo trying to do something that all other hunters said couldn't be done? President Matsumoto had many questions, but no one could give him answers. He could only hope for the best and wait to see what would happen. President Matsumoto went back to the Hunters Association building to see what was going on. He didn't have to wait long for news. The city of Nagoya has been captured again. What? The president jumped up from his chair. It hadn't been long, so how could Hunter Sung already have defeated one of the powerful enemies? Reports continued to come in. A very large body was found in the city of Nakatsugawa. The city of Shizuoka was taken back. Takayama and Nagano too. Jinwoo and his helpers were moving toward Tokyo very quickly. President Matsumoto felt a shiver because the Korean hunter was doing what seemed impossible. He couldn't stop his heart from racing until he heard Kofu. Hunter Sung is now in the city of Kofu. President Matsumoto sat down quickly when he learned that Jinwoo and his helpers had arrived in Kofu, a city only 30 kilometers from Tokyo. "Sir," President Matsumoto, he felt too weak to stand up straight. Hunter Sung was truly planning to defeat the giants all alone. Then he had an idea. Hunter Sung was doing exactly what I had intended to do to Korea. President Matsumoto's plan was to stop the Korean hunters from working, and then have the Japanese hunters take charge instead. Things had changed quickly. The Japanese hunters were confused and struggling, while the Korean hunter Jinwoo was powerfully defeating them. One person was doing something that President Matsumoto, the leader of the Japanese Hunters Association, the best Japanese hunters, and even the Japanese government had all tried and failed to do. The president finally shook off his shock, and quickly gave instructions to his concerned staff. "Please leave the room. I would like to be alone for a while." Alone in the empty room, he lowered his head. He had never felt this much sadness before. President Matsumoto had been completely defeated, but after thinking for a little bit, he began to feel grateful. He felt a lot of thankfulness. He quietly cried a few tears. That day, Jinwoo and his helpers traveled east from Osaka, defeating every giant they met, and finally reached Tokyo. Thud, 2 giants fell to the ground. "You have leveled up." Jinwoo made a fist with excitement. He didn't remember the last time it had been so easy to become stronger. He made fists. He was traveling directly from Osaka to Tokyo, where the trouble started, and he had already defeated 13 large creatures and become 6 levels stronger. Each of these creatures was as strong as the biggest enemy in any other dangerous place, so Jinwoo earned a lot of experience with every victory. His soldiers were also killing giants, which added to his total number of defeated enemies. He couldn't help smiling and raising his fist each time he got a message, telling him about it. "And now you have leveled up." There it was. Jinwoo was happy to see the message, and he heard a familiar voice in his head. "My king, we have defeated another enemy." It was Baru, whose army of ants was moving forward faster than the other 2 groups. Baru was Jinwoo's best fighter and many of his soldiers were ants, so this wasn't surprising. Baru usually told Jinwoo about each enemy defeated. Jinwoo told them they did a good job. "Very good. Excellent work. Thank you, my king." Then Jinwoo checked on the other 2 groups of soldiers using his special ability. Though they weren't as strong as the ant army led by Baru, the army of strong orcs led by Fang and the elite army led by Agris were also winning their battles well. Jinwoo was happy. His soldiers were getting stronger so quickly. "Leader, should we make camp here for the night?" Jinwoo opened his eyes and saw Jinyo getting a tent ready. Jinwoo looked up and noticed the sun was already going down. He didn't feel physically tired because of helpful potions and getting stronger, but he was starting to feel very mentally exhausted. He needed some rest. His companion nodded. This would be where they camped for the night. The 2 worked together to quickly put up the tent and make dinner. It was autumn, and a cold wind was blowing. as he heated the food given to him by the Hunters Association of Japan over the fire. Jinwoo thought winter must be coming soon. Winter he could see Tokyo from where he was. If he thought about how cities grew and then faded away like the seasons, Tokyo seemed to be in the middle of a cold, difficult time. The ruined city seemed strangely familiar. Where had he seen a place like this before? Jinwoo tried to remember. It reminded him of the demon's castle. Tokyo looked just like the destroyed cities inside that dangerous place. The only thing different was that Tokyo wasn't burning. Jinwoo's face became serious. Could it be that each floor of the demon's castle had shown cities that were completely ruined? Had the person who created this system been trying to tell him something? Jinwoo laughed a little to himself. It didn't matter. That person was already gone, killed in a dangerous place. Jinwoo hadn't heard from them since, so they definitely couldn't be alive. If this was a warning about what would happen next, he would just have to deal with it and stop whatever was coming. He worked hard to become powerful, because he didn't want anyone to be stronger than him. He improved his abilities, learned new skills, and kept getting better, until he reached this moment. His heart beat fast, almost as if it knew what he was thinking. Jinwoo put his hand on his chest and smiled a little as he felt his heart beating. A doctor at the hospital said there was nothing unusual about him. You are perfectly healthy, Hunter Sung. Jinwoo had a complete checkup before he left Korea. The doctor checked Jinwoo's chest 2 times, but everything looked normal. The black heart wasn't a real thing he could see with tests. Even though Jinwoo could feel it, it wasn't a physical change in his body. That sounded strange. Jinwoo chuckled, even though he felt a little worried. He was happy to learn his body was just like everyone else's. But then where was this pounding feeling coming from? A light wind came from the city, bringing with it a strange and unsettling energy. Sir Jinyo seemed worried. The magical energy was very strong. And even Jinyo, who wasn't very good at sensing things, noticed it. Jinwoo quietly nodded his head. The wind clearly came from the huge creature guarding the gate in Shinjuku. Compared to the energy from the other huge creatures Jinwoo had fought before, this felt totally different and gave him chills. But Jinwoo couldn't help but smile. Jinwoo's heart beat fast, feeling the power of the giant. He wondered how much stronger he would become after winning this fight, and what new soldier he would get to help him. He was very excited. Igris's best soldiers and the Ice Bear army were the first to reach Tokyo, and then Fang's strong orc army arrived soon after. Igris saw them coming and waved hello. Fang smiled under his cloak, and waved back. Then they heard a loud marching sound. Soon a large group of shadowy soldiers appeared through the light fog. It was Baru's group of ants. They had traveled the longest way and defeated many giants, so they were the last to reach Tokyo. Igris welcomed Baru, who was leading the ants. Baru, however, walked past Igris, and went to Jinwoo, respectfully kneeling. Oh, everyone is here. Jinwoo looked away from the giant in the distance. You all did a good job, as he greeted his shadow soldiers. Those who could followed Baru's example and knelt. The ice bears weren't made to move in that way, so they lowered themselves and touched their noses to the ground. There stood all the human, bear, ant, high, orc, and other types of shadow creatures Jinwoo had gathered so far. There were almost 1,000 of them. Everyone, stand up. The soldiers obeyed Jinwoo's signal. It was an incredible scene. Jinwoo was amazed as he looked at them. He was glad they were working for their leader. If they were wild magic beasts, he shivered, thinking about so many powerful creatures running around in the world. He was happy to have them as allies, a word that really fit Jinwoo. But behind him was something even more amazing. Jinyo gulped and quickly glanced over his shoulder. Standing there was a giant unlike any he had ever seen before. The magical creature's head was so high up. It looked like a tall building. Lao Jinyo couldn't help but say, seeing it in a video was very different from seeing it in person. He was really surprised. Jinwoo smiled and gently touched Jinyo's head. Watch out, you're going to be amazed. Ah, yes, sir. Jinyo realized he was staring and rubbed his head. Feeling embarrassed, Jinwoo looked closely at the giant. How could something so big even exist? It was a creature of impossible size. Jinwoo felt a strong desire to run away quickly because of the scary power coming from it. He had a bad feeling about what was happening. Usually when he felt this way, he either ran and hid or dealt with the problem causing it. He decided what to do as soon as he left Korea. No, as soon as he woke up again. His heart beat quickly. He closed his eyes for a moment to listen to it, then told Jinyo, "Stay back." "Okay," Jinyo said and quickly moved away, past the lines of shadow soldiers. "Good." Jinyo waited until Jinyo was a safe distance away, before calling forth the newest members of his group. "Come out." The shadow soldiers that appeared were large, though not as big as the main leader. They were still big figures. Jinwoo numbered them from 1 to 13, in the order he had awakened them. With these creatures forming the front line, his army felt even stronger. That should be enough. His preparations finished, Jinwoo lifted his hand toward the sky, and the shadow soldiers got ready to fight. My soldiers, his helpers were wearing black armor, or were made of black smoke. Jinwoo looked at everyone, then turned to face the huge creature far away. It looked down at him without much interest, like it didn't care about anyone too small to bother with. I really don't like this. Jinwoo didn't like being treated like he wasn't important. He smiled fiercely and pointed at the giant. "Come forward." Baru threw his head back and made a loud screeching sound. Ska abrabae. The army ran forward together. Urbola. The ground shook like thunder, and dust filled the air. Finally, Jinwoo's soldiers entered the giant's land. As soon as they did, everything around them changed. "Bakudal!" Jinwoo shouted. The giant disappeared for a moment, and when it reappeared, half of Jinwoo's soldiers were gone. It had slid across the ground with its legs spread out, destroying everything in its path. He had split the group of soldiers in half, but they weren't going to let the large creature escape so easily. The bigger Fang rushed right in front of it before the dust even settled. Whoosh! Fang took a deep breath, and blew out a huge burst of fire. Fu woom! This would have melted any magical creatures that were weak against flames. But the giant was able to block the fiery blast with his hand. Jinwoo could feel Fang's surprise. The giant grabbed a soldier by the ankle, usually as big as a building. The creature looked small in the giant's hand. It threw the soldier at Fang before he could attack again, and they both crashed into each other. Jinwoo's eyes became narrow as Fang disappeared, in a cloud of black smoke. The fight between Jinwoo's army of 1,000 soldiers and the giant had begun, but it wasn't much of a fight at all. It was more like the giant was easily defeating everyone.
Key.
Our key. The soldiers were being hit hard by the giant. Every time it punched or kicked, many soldiers fell. Bam! 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 The giant moved much faster than any skilled warrior could. Skra! When Baru saw the giant stepping on soldiers, he started to run toward it, but Jinwoo stopped him.
Not yet.
Baru stepped back and waited. He and Igris stood on either side of Jinwoo, ready for his orders. They both really wanted to fight, but it wasn't the right time yet. Jinwoo bit his lip, even with the extra power from the Black Heart. His energy was being used up quickly as his soldiers kept healing. Still, Jinwoo stayed strong and watched the giant carefully. He had a plan to discover what his enemy was bad at. He would use his never-dying soldiers to try and trick the enemy. Crash! The huge giant stepped on and destroyed many shadow soldiers. Boom! The ground trembled like an earthquake, and lots of soldiers disappeared in a puff of black smoke. The battle against the giant was terrifying, like a bad dream. But it wasn't a total failure. In the empty city, Jinwoo focused his attention, and his eyes shone. He realized something. The giant's tough skin was covered with a thin layer of energy that blocked attacks. Because of this, the giant was attacking wildly, not even bothering to defend itself. But there was one time when it seemed to protect itself. When Fang used Fire Dragon's breath, the giant had covered its face with its hands. Could that have been on purpose? Kaizel. Jinwoo called for the flying dragon. Kaizel came out of Jinwoo's shadow and opened its big wings. Flap. Screech. Jinwoo climbed onto Kaizel's back. Baru. Igris. Baru spread his wings, and Igris climbed onto Jinwoo's back. With both of them riding, Kaizel began to flap his wings. Kree. They lifted into the air. Let's go. The four of them flew quickly toward the giant's head. The giant's eyes moved to the side. The large creature was busy fighting many shadowy figures, but it still noticed Kessel and Baru running toward it as fast as they could. Jinwoo thought to himself that this creature definitely had the same special ability as him, a way to make time seem to move slower. That explained why the large giant could move so quickly compared to other giants. The giant started to turn toward them. Watch out. Junwoo Negris jumped off Kaisel's back right before the giant's fist hit. Boom! Junwoo blinked as Kaisel completely broke apart. Watching his soldiers get hurt wasn't good, but it did mean he was getting closer to his goal. Negris attacked first. He swung his powerful sword down from above. A bright blue flash of lightning shot from the blade toward the giant's head. The large creature tilted its head back to avoid the energy attack. Again, the magical beast dodged another strike aimed at its face. Jinwoo believed the creature was weakest in the face, so he used his special ability to move closer. Baru followed right behind him. Powerful daggers appeared in Jinwoo's hands, and Baru extended his sharp claws.